How are you doing tonight?
Good.
I was with a lot of you earlier today at the civil disobedience party. That turned out to be an incredible event. So that was a lot of fun. I had to go home and change and shower because I was drenched in sweat. It was hot today, so it was a lot of fun. But really, I'll just get right into it. Why I got involved in politics. I kind of told the story a little bit earlier, but I'll just tell it again. I really wasn't involved. I didn't really know what I believed. I knew that I was anti-war and all that stuff, but I was a registered Democrat in the beginning. When I turned 18, I went to Spain after high school. That really changed my worldview. We invaded Iraq when I was in Spain, and I was on the street with a million other Spaniards in the city of Madrid where I was at. So that was an incredible experience, and that really changed my worldview. When I come back, I accidentally voted for Kerry. So I thought he was better than Bush, but after that, really like a year after, I realized that they were just the same. I became apathetic about politics. Until late 2007, I saw a bumper sticker on somebody's car that said, "Google Ron Paul." So that's exactly what I did. I Googled Ron Paul, I pulled up a YouTube video of him, and I was instantly changed, just like that. So I volunteered for his campaign. I walked a couple precincts. And when he lost, I was like, what do we do next? They created Campaign for Liberty. They put out some videos about how to get involved in the central committees and local politics, and that's what I did. I ran in June 2010 for the San Bernardino County Republican Central Committee, and I also ran again in this past June and won again. So I've been on this thing. And there was actually 14 people running. Michael Kelly was one of them. He was one of the candidates running for Central Committee in the 2nd Supervisorial District. And I came in 3rd out of 14 candidates, and I didn't do any type of campaign whatsoever. And the guys who came in 1st and 2nd, they spent money, or PACs spent money on their behalf for slate mailers and for their campaigns. And I was only 600 votes behind the first place guy, so I think that's really, really good. That's a good, it's a good thing to see that. And I think I have a good chance of winning the city council election. So I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. I'm 28 years old. I'm married to my high school sweetheart. She's my high school sweetheart. I'm not her high school sweetheart. So persistence did pay off after high school. We have a son, 18-month-old named Elijah, and a miniature schnauzer named Annie. So I do love dogs, but I'm a little bit allergic to them. But I do love them. I grew up in Rancho Cucamonga. I've been living here for the past 20 years, so I'm pretty familiar with the city. I graduated from I went to Chaffey College first. Well, when I was in Spain, I went to the Universidad Complutense de Madrid immediately after high school for about 9 months there. I learned Spanish, and like I said, that was a completely life-changing experience for me. When I came back, I went to Chaffey College for a couple years, and I graduated from Cal State San Bernardino with a bachelor's in geography, which didn't really help me that much. So. Yeah, like I said, I grew up in Rancho Cucamonga. I've been living here for the past 20 years. While I was going to Cal State San Bernardino, I was a planning intern for the city of Fontana for a year and a half. So I got to see the inner workings of how city government works. And they let me do a lot of stuff. They were really lenient on what they let me do. I did design review sign permits. I would help people at the front counter. I actually took it was an application for creating a tract, and I got to present that to the Planning Commission. I went to Development Advisory Board meetings, and I got to see how all the cronyism works. So it was interesting to see that at firsthand, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to become a city planner. But when I graduated from Cal State San Bernardino, the economy tanked. I graduated in June of 2008. Cities and counties, they stopped hiring locally. They stopped hiring city planners, which turned out kind of to be a good thing, because I realized a little bit afterwards that city planning is kind of, it's not all that it's cracked up to be. Central planning, I realized, isn't the best thing for the economy, for people's lives, for people's freedom. So I did realize that, but it was good to see. It was good to be an intern, because I got to see how the inner workings of the city work. I'm also a small business owner. I started a business a few years ago with my mom. It's called Grow Organic. We install and maintain edible landscaping. So we put in organic gardens in people's homes. We've done it at senior centers, schools, so we go anywhere we can to put in our organic vegetable gardens. We also do chicken coops, vineyards, and composters, stuff like self-sufficiency stuff. So I'm really into self-sufficiency and trying to be personally responsible for yourself. As a business owner, I came to see all the regulations and hoops you got to jump through just to make a buck. For just the tiniest little thing, for example, like a few weeks ago, I went to City Hall and I had to renew our business license through the city, and we no longer have an office anymore. So we had to put our home as where we're doing business out of. And in order to get a business license and you have a home-based business, you have to pay an additional like $100 on top of a regular business license. So just stuff like that, it's stuff so minute that affects us. They just keep snowballing, and it ends up being just tyranny across the board. So stuff like that, that's little stuff that I want to address if I were to be city councilman. But the three main tenets that I would go by when I'm voting on ordinances, voting on legislation and resolutions, I would go by individual rights, limited government, and free enterprise. Those are the three main things that I'll take into consideration when voting on ordinances. I would also take into consideration definitely my oath of office, because I do believe that if every politician really upheld their oath of office, this country would be much better off. Right now, I just want to name some of the issues I'll address if I were city councilman. First and foremost, there's a video surveillance system that they're planning on putting in the city. I met with the head detective, Mr. Wolf, Detective Wolf, at the city of Rancho Cucamonga, at the police department. I met with him, spoke with him for maybe about 45 minutes. He said that they're putting this video surveillance system in Victoria Gardens. So there's 25 cameras going in Victoria Gardens. These cameras have speakers on them, so they can tell troublemakers to disperse if they want to. I assume they can also listen since there's speakers on there. That's only what I'm assuming. That's really, that type of stuff bothers me. That's why I created this civil disobedience party earlier today in response to Ordinance 851. Because even at the local level, the government's getting too Orwellian for me. Let alone at the federal level, we got to deal with it locally. It's not gonna happen. We all need to stand up and fight for our rights, and that's why I'm getting involved. That's why I'm running for city council. There's also tree ordinances that the city has. You can't cut down certain trees, especially up there in North Rancho Cucamonga, Alta Loma. They have eucalyptus windrows that they won't let you cut down. I do want to address that. I also want to push the community garden that has been planned for the past like 3 years. The ex-mayor's wife she created a committee to make a community garden, and my mom and I were involved on that committee trying to create this community garden, and it just hit so much bureaucratic red tape and stuff like that that it didn't end up happening. So I really want to try to push that, but I want to do it with only private funds. I would not use any public funds to do a community garden. And I think it can happen if we really try to push it, if we really show the benefit to people what it could be. It should totally come from private funds. I would also change the name of the library. So that's an issue that the city council voted on, I think a couple years ago with the whole Bian thing. I'm not sure if you're all familiar with that. But Supervisor Bian, he had the library, the big, huge $1 million library in Rancho Cucamonga in Victoria Gardens was named after him while he was a sitting supervisor. So of course he's no longer supervisor. He may have been involved in the whole scandal with the colonies over there. So he's no longer a supervisor, and I really think that the city council should have voted to change the name of that library. So I will bring that issue up again if I'm elected. Honestly, I think the biggest issue for the city is budget accountability, because we're seeing this across the state. Cities are almost going bankrupt. It's San Bernardino, Compton, there's a couple other ones that are pretty much bankrupt. A lot of people know that it's not feasible to maintain the current system that we have. It's not feasible to keep paying the current pension plan of every public employee. So people can't keep retiring at 50 and 55 and keep getting paid exorbitantly for the rest of their lives. It can't happen. It's not feasible to maintain it. Even the people who are getting paid those amounts, they know it. So it's got to change. And people ask me, well, what's the only way to break that stranglehold of the unions? And the only way we can do it is getting people like us involved in local government. There needs to be more citizen activists getting involved, running for local office, and that's really why I'm running I want to break that stranglehold. And I think that the voters are ready for that. I don't even think the money matters that much at the local level. The unions can spend $500,000 on their guy, and I think I still have a chance with my $1,500 budget. So. Another issue I look at is bringing in new businesses and investors into the city. I think a really huge issue that can help with that is looking at the zoning laws. I'm familiar with zoning laws because I worked for the city of Fontana, like I said. And I would most likely push for relaxed zoning laws so entrepreneurs and investors can have more economic options on where they can locate and what they can invest in. So I would definitely look at that. If you look at some of the other candidates' websites, they promise you a ton of stuff, especially Chuck Bouquet. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Chuck Bouquet, but you should look at his website, or maybe you shouldn't, you might give him more hits. But it has a ton of stuff that he promises, like he says to expand this, control that, promote this, create a ton of stuff, create new programs, and then he says to be fiscally responsible. We can't do all that stuff. So the only promise to the voters that I will uphold is my oath of office. That's the only promise I have to the voters, is my oath of office. If that was every politician's only promise to the voters, this country would be much better off. So.
Okay, we have two critiquers, Ken and Brian, correct? So Ken, we're gonna go ahead and start and